The sun was just rising in Owerri when little Amara waved goodbye to her parents, unaware it would be the last time she'd see her mother alive. Her father, Chief Nandi, had just secured a major business deal abroad, and he and his wife were on their way to the airport, bubbling with hope for the future. But fate had a cruel plan. On the expressway, a reckless truck swerved across lanes, screams, screeching tires. A deafening crash. Hours later, the news reached the house. Her mother was gone. Her father survived, barely. Amara was too young to understand. For days, she asked when Mummy was coming back. Her aunties would just hug her tight, tears in their eyes. Her world had shattered in a moment. 5 years passed. Her father, now healed physically but still nursing emotional wounds, remarried. Amara needs a mother, he said. But the woman he brought home was not the answer. Mama Nena came with a soft smile and sugar-sweet words for Amara's father and an iron hand for Amara. She endured slaps for spilled water. Silent punishment for speaking too loudly. 2 months later, Nena gave birth to a baby girl, Chisholm, and Amara's life took a dark turn. Suddenly, Amara became invisible, a servant in her own home. Amara stood by the kitchen sink, her tiny hands scrubbing plates that seemed never to end. From the sitting room, the laughter of her stepmother and baby Chisholm echoed, sweet and joyful. But none of that joy reached Amara. At just 10 years old, she had become more of a maid than a daughter. Mama said you're not allowed to eat the meat, Chisholm once blurted, her round eyes innocent as she licked soup from her fingers. Amara forced a smile, her stomach growling. It wasn't Chisholm's fault. She was just a baby, loved and adored, the way Amara used to be. Every day was a routine of early mornings, house chores, school, if Mama Nena allowed it, and babysitting. Sometimes, the woman would send her to sell groundnuts by the roadside after school. You must learn responsibility, she would say, even though Amara's back ached and her legs trembled. Her father, he was always too busy, business trips, board meetings, and charity events. When he was home, Mama Nena became a perfect angel, soft-voiced, warm, even affectionate toward Amara. And so, he saw nothing. Amara is lucky to have such a caring stepmother, he often told friends. But Amara wasn't lucky. She was lost, forgotten. At night, she cried into her thin pillow, whispering to the ceiling, "Mummy, are you watching me? Can you see me from heaven?" Then one day, Amara overheard something that would change her perspective. While cleaning the corridor, she heard Mama Nena on the phone. "That girl will never be better than my Chisholm, never." That night, Amara didn't cry. Something inside her began to harden, a spark, small, but alive. And so, her quiet rebellion began. By age 12, Amara had learned the art of silence. She had also mastered the skill of disappearing into the background. But within her silence, her mind roared with thoughts, dreams, and questions. Why did Papa never see her pain? Why did Mama Nena hate her so much? Why did love feel like a reward she had to earn? One Saturday morning, as she mopped the tiled floor of the sitting room, her eyes drifted to the television. The news was on. A female journalist was confidently reporting live from Lagos. She wore a fitted blazer, spoke clearly, and had a presence that filled the screen. Amara froze. Something inside her stirred. Mass communication. She read the caption aloud. From that day, she started saving torn newspapers from the trash. Every chance she got, she read articles, mimicked newscasters, and practiced reading aloud in front of a broken mirror. Her voice was shaky at first, but she kept going. One evening, Papa came home unusually early. Amara rushed to hug him. Her arms around his waist felt unfamiliar, like holding a stranger. "How are your studies?" he asked. She smiled weakly. "Fine, sir." He nodded and walked away, not noticing the bruise on her wrist or the missing buttons on her faded school uniform. In that moment, Amara realized she couldn't depend on anyone but herself. Not even Papa. Her survival and success would come from her own hands, her own mind. And so she began to hide her dreams like treasure safely tucked beneath her pillow and scribbled into the corners of old exercise books. One day, she promised herself, "I will walk out of this house, not as a servant girl, but as a woman with a voice." And the world would listen. The older Amara grew, the heavier the burden became. At 13, she knew how to cook, wash, clean, and bathe a baby, but she didn't know what love felt like anymore. Every morning before dawn, she swept the compound, fetched water, and got Chisholm ready for school. Sometimes she barely had time to get herself dressed. And if she ever dared to arrive late at school, Mama Nena made sure she regretted it. "Lazy girl, you think you'll marry a rich man by sleeping and painting nails?" she once yelled, dragging Amara by the ear in front of neighbors. Even the neighbors began to whisper. Some shook their heads in pity. Others said nothing after all. It wasn't their business. But Amara held her pain quietly. Her only escape was her books. She read everything she could find: textbooks, old newspapers, and borrowed novels from classmates. At night, under the weak glow of a kerosene lantern, she would read until her eyes stung. She wanted more from life. She wanted to become someone. Maybe a journalist or a news anchor. She wanted to speak for herself and for girls like her who were silenced. One day at school, a counselor visited. She spoke about WAC and JAMB and how students could prepare for university. Amara listened, wide-eyed, her heart pounding. University, freedom, a new life. That night, she wrote one of her deepest prayers in her notebook. "God, if you're real, please let me pass WAC. Let me leave this house." She tore the page, folded it carefully, and hid it under her mattress like a seed of hope. She didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change. Amara threw herself into her studies with a determination no one saw coming. She studied late into the night, long after the house had gone silent. She memorized formulas, wrote past questions, and carried her books even while fetching water or watching Chisholm. "Why are you always carrying that book around like it's your baby?" Mama Nena mocked one afternoon. "It won't cook food for you." Amara didn't answer. She just clutched her notes tighter and walked away. Months flew by, and WAC came on the morning of her first exam. Mama Nena conveniently forgot to wake her up. She rushed to school, stomach empty, shoes dusty, but her heart focused. Each paper she wrote felt like a key turning in a lock. When the results came out, she almost fainted. She passed all her subjects. Even her teachers were stunned. "This girl is going places," one of them said with pride. With shaky hands, she registered for JMB. She chose mass communication, her dream course. Her father barely noticed. "You want to go to university?" he asked, distracted by his tablet. "Yes, sir." Let's see how you do first." The day her JMB result was released, she cried again, but this time it was tears of joy. She scored 300. The house was quiet when she got the admission letter to a prestigious university in Lagos. She showed it to her father, who blinked in surprise. "You really got in." She nodded, afraid to smile too much. For the first time in years, he looked at her, really looked. "You've grown." But Mama Nena didn't smile. She looked at the letter like it was a threat. Amara didn't care. For once, her freedom felt real. She was leaving. The gates of the university stood tall and wide, as if opening into another universe. When Amara stepped inside, dragging her small box and worn-out backpack, she felt like she had stepped into a dream. Loud music, girls in lash and heels, boys in sneakers and cologne. Everything screamed freedom. No curfews, no shouting, no chores. She could finally breathe. Her first days were full of awe. She met her two roommates, Ifeoma, a calm, church-going girl with soft eyes and a Bible always by her bed, and Sandra, bold, flashy, and always surrounded by attention. Sandra was the first to approach her. "Girl, you need a makeover. These clothes, no. You look like you came from the village," she laughed, not unkindly. Amara chuckled nervously. "Well, I kind of did. Sandra took her under her wing. She introduced her to parties, guys with cars, and the art of skipping lectures. This is her life now, she said. No more wicked stepmothers. Enjoy it. And Amara did, at first. She went out at night, wore makeup she barely knew how to use, and tasted alcohol for the first time. It burned her throat, but numbed her mind. She started missing classes, sleeping during lectures, and ignoring her books. Ifeoma noticed. Amara, you're drifting, she said one evening. This isn't the girl who fought to escape a hard life. You were made for more. But Amara laughed it off. I just want to live a little. Deep down, something didn't feel right. Weeks later, her first semester results came. She failed 4 courses. Her CGPA was shameful. That night, she sat on her bed, eyes wide, heart sinking. The freedom she craved had come with a price. Was she losing herself? Okay, sir, she said, her voice flat. After the call, she sat in silence. Ifeoma walked in and noticed her blank stare. Everything okay? She asked gently. Amara nodded, though her throat burned. My dad called. Wants me to come home. Will you go? I don't know, she whispered. I'm afraid I'll become that helpless girl again. You won't, Ifeoma said firmly, because you're not her anymore. That night, Amara knelt beside her bed and prayed, not just for courage, but for the strength to forgive what she could never forget. And in her heart, a new seed was planted, one of healing, and maybe restoration. Amara stepped off the bus, her feet touching the dusty red earth of her hometown for the first time in over a year. The sun beat down mercilessly, and the familiar smell of kerosene, sand, and boiling soup filled the air. The house hadn't changed. The walls still cracked, the gate still squeaked. And yet, everything felt smaller. Chisholm ran to her as soon as she entered the compound. Sister Amara. She squealed, wrapping her tiny arms around her waist. Amara knelt and hugged her tightly, surprised by the warmth. The little girl was growing fast, her eyes still full of innocence. Amara whispered, I missed you, even though she hadn't thought of this place with longing in a long time. Mama Nena appeared at the doorway, arms folded, face blank. So you finally remembered you have a home. Amara stood, meeting her eyes. Good afternoon, Ma. She grunted. We'll see how long the Lagos Pride lasts. Dinner was quiet. Her father asked a few questions about school. Mass communication, right? Hope you're doing well. Yes, sir. But the tension was thick, as though the house held its breath. Later that night, Amara sat in her childhood room, still bare, still cold. She saw the old mattress, the crack in the wall, the faded curtains. Memories flooded back, loneliness, fear, helplessness. Yet something had changed. She had changed. The next morning, she helped Chisholm get ready for school. Mama Nana watched from the doorway, arms crossed. Let's hope this Lagos book makes you useful someday. Amara didn't flinch. She just smiled and replied, It already has. She didn't come home to fight. She came to prove that even in darkness, light could rise. Back at school, Amara returned to her rhythm. Lectures, library sessions, media workshops, and long evenings filled with writing assignments and broadcast rehearsals. She had found her passion, storytelling. One day, her lecturer announced a departmental project, a live campus radio series hosted by top students from each level. Amara's name was among those shortlisted. Her heart raced. Are you ready? Ifeoma asked. I think so. I've been preparing for this my whole life, she smiled. When the day came, Amara stepped into the campus studio for the first time. The microphone stood tall and still in front of her, the red on-air light blinking steadily. Her hands shook slightly, but she remembered the girl who once cried into a pillow in a broken home. That girl was now about to speak, not just for herself, but for others. Good afternoon, listeners, she began. My name is Amara Obi. Today, we talk about the silent struggles, the battles fought behind closed doors, the pain masked by school uniforms, and fake smiles. The studio was quiet as her voice rang out smooth, firm, full of purpose. She shared a story, not with names, not with accusations, but with power. A story of a girl who lost her mother, endured cruelty, but chose not to let pain define her future. After the broadcast, the feedback was overwhelming. Your voice gave me hope. You told my story. Thank you for speaking the truth. Amara had never felt more alive.